Hello and welcome to Films on That. My name's Rob Turnbull.
And my name's Sam Hall.
And today we are looking at the Andromeda Strain. Robert Wise's 1971 Andromeda Strain follows a group of scientists as they experiment on a dangerous alien microbe. This review contains spoilers. Robert Wise, he did like the sound and music and things like that, didn't he?
Oh, we shouldn't have asked me. I haven't got a clue.
He did though.
Did he?
He did the sound and music. He did
Okay.
The Day the Earth Stood Still, which is kind of a classic sci-fi B-movie thing.
Yeah, one of the better B-movies.
It's kind of classic old Hollywood, really, I would say. Would you say this film felt old Hollywood?
No, I'd say this felt very 70s to me. In fact, I felt it detracted quite a bit from that because, you know, for a start, none of the actors are particularly pretty. You know, there's no sort of sexual vibes going on at all.
This ends the formal questioning. Please undress.
It's like an information film. Did you find like a news broadcast almost, or a recreation?
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's about the drama from the situation rather than from the characters. You know, there's not a huge amount of character development.
No, a lot of what happens is just scientists looking at screens and reacting, and it's all very low-key in a way. Even though it's about something that could potentially destroy humanity, it's not about aliens coming down and blowing things up. It's about an unseen terror. And the premise is that there's this project that like I think NASA have been doing called Scoop, where they use a satellite to bring back some kind of microbe. And the first thing that the scientists know is that where this satellite has landed in this small town, everyone has died mysteriously. So the first thing they do is go and investigate it, and they start to uncover more and more kind of weird and disturbing things.
The day of judgment is at hand. Have mercy on my soul. And to hell with all the others, amen.
Senile.
This took time. Regardless of what made her do it, it took time.
All the people that have died, their blood has just turned to powder, and they can't explain it.
Clotted and solidified in a very strange way, which is one of the better effects of the film, I think, when you see that. Yeah,
I thought the whole opening sequence when they're investigating that that small town, is done really well. It's really well paced, and it gives you a real sense of real unease and dread, because it's something that could actually happen. Some weird kind of disease has been released.
But at the same time, you don't get the kind of fear that you would get in a horror film, which is where you normally have these kind of scenarios, you know, of killer disease that could wipe out the human race or whatever.
Well, it's not an immediate threat, so you can't see it physically, and it's not attacking you physically. It's you can't see it, you can't smell it. It's just something that's about, and that's what I found scary. We all know about diseases that can kill us, and we can't do anything about that. This was that, but coming from another world and from outer space, something that is so alien that we can't possibly understand it.
It's smooth. Almost like an artificial surface.
Painted, maybe. Luminous paint.
If I keep watching it, I might think so. Wet paint sign and all.
It appears unstoppable, doesn't it? It's something that's so totally beyond our understanding, and they repeatedly hammer this fact home, don't they? All the way up to the end, they find out that it can exist and thrive in the vacuum of space, and it feeds on radiation. They think they can deal with it with nuclear weapons. And then what makes it interesting then is they say, but actually that would have the opposite effect. Nuclear weapons would make it worse.
Oh no.
Oh no.
So nuclear weapons aren't the solution to the problem.
No, but then that's fine, because that brings in another element, you know, of fear. That everything they do, you know, every time they think they're making progress, there's more questions to be answered. They're continuously throwing in little, what would you call them, like the bomb under the table that Alfred Hitchcock talks about.
Yeah.
You know, things to really sort of extend the terror of the situation they're in.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Everything goes wrong, as you would expect.
The sets are quite good. When they go down into the facility, all the individual rooms are very interesting to look at.
I'd like to talk about that actually. What did that make you think of?
Well, I like that there's loads of different levels and each level is colour coded.
Oh, for me it made me think of computer games, particularly something like Half-Life.
Oh, right, like level 1.
Yeah, things like that. The opening to the game Half-Life, if anyone's ever played that, that's a sort of slow descent, isn't it? It's all about sort of interacting with the environment rather than physically interacting with the game, you know what I mean?
This whole sequence, before we even kind of get to the meat of the film, there's like a 45-minute sequence of them just preparing to enter the facility, isn't it? It goes on for ages, and it's really slow-paced, and it takes its time.
Probably too slow-paced, to be honest, yeah.
But yeah, there's lots of not a lot happening, which I like.
Date your name for the records. Surname first.
Mark Hall. Hallmark.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Yes, dear.
'Cause I do really like that kind of monochromatic colour scheme that they use. Each one a different colour for the different levels. It does kind of hammer home to you that you are in a different level, and that you are getting further down underground, and that you're getting more and more cut off each time. And because it is such a pain to get into this facility, you're probably not going to get rescued that easily. So it's this isolation effect that it has on you as you keep going down.
And I can imagine at the time as well, it would given off that sci-fi feel that they're trying to go for. It's possible that all that stuff as well was probably brought in by the producers, because it's very difficult to make something that you can't see exciting. And that there's an awful lot of dialogue, as there is in the book by Michael Crichton. You know, there's a lot of dialogue, and that's kind of where a lot of the drama lies. So when you go and see a sci-fi film, you know, you want sci-fi elements, and so I feel like probably a lot of that was put in for the audience's sake. Much like something like Star Trek, like a TV science show, you know, the solutions come about not through action but through knowledge, and it's all about that kind of coming up with creative new ways to deal with these things, perhaps to try and give you a sense of what it might be like in that situation in real life. You know, it's not going to be the sake of pushing some buttons or as Doctor Who does, waving a magic wand around. You know, you've got to use your brain.
Yeah.
To come up with a solution.
They both stayed alive at Piedmont, breathing the same air. One's blood too alkaline, the other too acid. Yes.
I always like in films when they do something really methodically and they do everything correctly, because I really think that's how people would act in that situation. And it's really interesting for me to see a very realistic science fiction film where, like you said, they're not just waving a lightsaber around and using the Force and then never explaining what the Force is, you know. They're going into kind of painstaking and sometimes tedious detail as to what's going on, and I like that. Like a Star Trek episode, like we keep saying, it did just kind of peter off and everything was solved within literally a few seconds of exposition.
What's happening?
Cloud seeding.
So what did you do? You seeded some clouds?
We're seeding the clouds above Andromeda with silver iodide, and the alkaline reaction from seawater should kill it.
And then what?
Cloud seeding.
That did feel like explained away, unfortunately, the resolution.
Yeah, that was them literally just running out of time, I think, because that isn't how the book ended. So it was just them off. We've only got like a 2-hour film or whatever, so we need to kind of wrap this up.
Am I right in thinking the book ends where essentially the virus just mutates to a point where it's no longer a threat to humans?
Yeah, so it gets out, it escapes, but then it sits in the upper atmosphere. And the point of the Andromeda Strain in the book is that it then traps people inside. One of the side effects of this strain is that it eats through rubber seals and plastics and things that people make. So that the final thing in the book is that as a spaceship falls to Earth because all the seals in it have melted away. So this thing of, it kind of reinforces this trapped nature. This virus is then keeping humanity in Earth and they can't escape, which I think is a much more interesting concept than just, oh yeah, We fixed it, don't worry about it.
Hardly even exciting.
Okay, so what did you think of Andromeda Strain, Sam?
Well, I've always liked that quite matter-of-fact science fiction. You know, I'm a fan of just sometimes being given that kind of information and just expanding my mind, you know, in the same way that I can enjoy any kind of science program or Planet Earth or any sort of documentary. But I think the lack of human interaction and drama did detract it from me, and also the quite silly ending as well, you know, drew away from that kind of enjoyment. It's not aged that well, I'd say, but I think it's still fine. It's still watchable, as long as if you're able to accept B movies and a lot of other different, you know, old sci-fi films, then, you know, I think you can get over that, really.
Yeah, it does fit into kind of silent running and films like that for me. Very traditional, old sci-fi. It is very slow, and I like that. I like that it's very slow and nothing happens, and it's just really methodical. You were saying the lack of human interaction. It is very robotic. It is about people operating machinery, and it is about kind of robots, isn't it? It's about, because there's even a bit when the robots are an extension of people, because he's got like these hands that he's operating with a robot to experiment with a thing. So it's this whole integrating yourself with science. That's the kind of what it's about for me, and I like that. I like just sitting back and watching these things unfold in a very slow, methodical way.
I mean, I still find it problem, you know, that at no point does anyone cry, apart from, okay, the baby cries, but no one just is exacerbated at the sheer horror of the situation, you know. That there is a dread to it, you know, but that dread it's brought on by the audience. It's not. Yeah. You don't attach yourself to any of the characters because they almost don't care.
But they're very scientific about it, and that's what I mean. It's about science. They're not, you know, they don't have knee-jerk reactions to this. They go, oh, hold on, let's figure out what's actually happening here, and let's kind of find a way to solve this situation. But I did feel a sense of dread through this, and it didn't really make me uneasy. Okay, that's it for this time in Films and That. Thanks for watching and subscribing. We'll see you next time.
Cloud seeding.